Hey y'all, hey, it's another episode of Bonafide Her podcast featuring the one and only Myles Roper. Beep, 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 beep,
What's going
beep.
on? What's going on?
How you doing, sir?
I can't complain. How are you?
You know we blessed to be alive. So so let's get it started. So Myles, can you tell us like your sports journey and how you got to where you are right now?
Yeah. Basically, well, I'm from West Virginia. Like a really small town, about 5,000, 6,000 people here. I went to high school though, but I live on the border of like Maryland, Virginia. Like the Maryland Virginia border is like 15 minutes from me. So I went to high school in both Maryland and Virginia. So my first 2 years, I went to school in Hagerstown, Maryland. Which is about an hour away. And then my junior senior year, I transferred to school in Ashburn, Virginia, which is still about like an hour 5 away, give or take the traffic. Um, and I didn't really play that much when I was in high school. My senior year, I didn't really play much. Maybe average like 8 to 10 minutes a game, 2 points a game. But I still had passion for basketball. I still love basketball. So like when I graduated, I got a academic scholarship to go to Xavier University. And I still, worked out basketball, still maintained a basketball schedule and things like that. So um, when I was at school, though, I was a practice player for the women's team at Xavier all 4 years. And then I graduated and I came home and I started working. And it's kind of crazy. So when I met my friend Kevin, me and Kevin went to Xavier together. And when he got a new job, he moved to Charlotte, and basically he was able to meet Zoe through pickup and stuff. And he told Zoe about me, told me to register for the pro am and get involved, and then I did. I got put on a team, and then the first game, I scored 38, and just kind of established myself in the pro am. And I got like a nice little they made like a nice little highlight film for me, which is great because I needed that because I didn't have any film, especially for my any of my years in high school or AAU, things like that. So that was like my first highlight tape that I got. And somebody else saw that tape on my Instagram and asked me to play in a league called TBL. And so this past year, I played my first season of TBL. Um, I did pretty decent, and it ended up getting me to a point where more people were able to see me. I had more film, things like that. So but yeah, so right now I'm just playing basketball, traveling, doing things like that. So yeah, I'm enjoying it right now.
So you were a practice player for the women's team. What was that like, and did it feel like it just kind of influenced you to become an advocate for women's sports?
Yeah, so when I first heard about doing it, because I wanted to play for the men's team, and you know they had tryouts at the men's team. They had when we were at tryouts for the men's team, they came over to us and they're like, "Hey, like, if any of y'all want to be like a practice player for the women's team, like, what I mean, you should do it." And I was like, when I first heard it, I was like, "Absolutely not! Like, I'm not gonna be no practice player for women's team." But then my roommate did it, and like my roommate signed up, and he like convinced me to sign up. So I was like, "I'll see what it is." But like I when I started doing it, I loved it. Like I just loved being a part of. I loved being a part of like practicing and like and doing things like that. Like I just missed that feeling. You know what I mean? I like and I wasn't like on the team, but like just the environment of like practicing and like building like chemistry with like other teammates and stuff. Like I miss that type of um that feeling, you know what I'm saying? So I loved being at Xavier. Shout out to Melanie Moore because she was the coach there for the 3 years I was there. My first year, his name was Gary Neal. We didn't really talk too much. Didn't really have that much relationship. But I don't, still a nice guy. But Melanie Moore, past 3 years, she was the coach, and I appreciated her and her staff for just treat me like I was a special part of the team, whether I was or not. It was definitely love being there. So
Yo, cause like I know for like a lot of colleges, like for women's sports, especially, like they always look for practice players, male practice players,
Mhm.
and because it just gives like the girls to be prepared more like competition wise. So it's always that the best feeling, but also like just gives the guys more say, oh, the girls do they do
Yeah.
know how to play. So, but uh, and but my question is, and you went blank, Miles. You just went blank. Oh, we having technical difficulties. Te- te- Y'all, that's why I said this is raw and real. Raw and real. We'll be back, y'all. We will be back, y'all, for real. Like, person is coming back, y'all. So, you tune in. They are coming back. So, mm, they are coming back, y'all. So, I got it. Oh, there you are. And there they are. What'd
I'm
you
so
say?
sorry. I'm so I got a phone call and it kind of messed up my thing. I apologize for that. I'm so sorry.
You good?
I'm
I
sorry.
will. I will say this podcast is raw, real. It does happen like this, so
Yeah,
it
no. So that I apologize. I'm sorry about that. I didn't know. Like I had to put my phone on do not disturb because I got a phone call, so I didn't. It just like wiped out for a second. But I'm back. But I got the point where you were talking about playing against men for women college athletes. Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's well, yeah, because the main thing is because of the physicality. So, because a lot of times, like you can look at a women's practice and be like, oh, okay, like they're able to physically hang with men. Like I mean, it should be a little it should get that advantage in the game when they're playing against other women. So, it's definitely been a something used all across the country. Every college women's I know Division 1 has men's practice players, and it's benefit I like you can tell it's benefited them for the most part. But yeah, definitely for sure.
So how did that transition from you being a practice player for Xavier to being a practice player at the Mystics?
So the Mystics came about. A friend actually told me about the Mystics opportunity. He said he'd been practicing with the Mystics for the past like 2 years, and he said I should try to do that. And so the year that I came in, so the past years I've been there, people like they haven't had enough players at times. Like there will be times like coaches had to practice and stuff too because like not a lot of people were showing up, and not a lot of people just wanted to do a sign up. And then so the year that I came had been the most that people have been wanting to do it. So we actually had like a tryout, and we were really like just playing 5-on-5 with the women's ball and stuff. And then they just selected about a good 12 to 15 of us to just be there because not everyone can be there every day, so they just need like a solid like 5 or 6 just to be there and be able to run their sets and things like that. So yeah, so the year that my first year, which was last year, we we were like selected from from the coaching staff, things like that. So um and like I think like just my resume of just uh already being under a Division 1 program with the practice team, it's I think that helped me a lot too. But yeah, the transition was kind of easy. It was actually crazy because like a college uh practice is like on a completely different level when it comes to a WNBA practice. So much more attention to detail, so many more things, like so many different like schemes, different coverages, different like things. Look out. Like the scout is more like in depth and things like that. We actually watch film too. So like while the players are warming up, a lot of times like they'll put us in the film room and we'll break down film and they'll talk about like what they do defensively, what they do offensively, and they'll give us like our sign roles and things like that. So it's a lot more goes into the women's to the WNBA practice. But the transition for the most part it was just smooth. At the end of the day, it's basketball, so you know it's either like can you play and can you help them out and you know can you prepare them for games and their schedule and things like that.
So who was like some of the hardest people that you basically guarded when you were at the Mystics?
I'm not gonna lie. So for me, um, Natasha Cloud was super hard because she's super fast with the ball and she can get anywhere she wants on the court. Tasha Cloud's hard for me to guard. Is super hard. She's hard to guard. Brittany Sykes, she's hard to guard as well. And like a lot of the tall players, like when Elena played last year, her shot was just so like high, and like her release was so high, it's hard to block her shot. You know, but all of them have like they're all, these are the best basketball players in the world. You know what I mean? So like they're all what I mean to some extent, they all got some stuff to them. So it just there will be days where you might feel like hey, they're really being consistent, they're hitting things like that. And there's other days where you just what I mean, you feel like you're getting the best of them defensively. It just depends. But at the end of the day, they're all super they're all super tough, all of them to me.
Yeah, because Elena Deladon, a lot of people don't know it, but she's the only WNBA player to be part of the 50-40-90 club.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, she's super efficient. Like in practice, like it's just like you can't block her shot, and like it's super hard to like make her feel your presence. She barely sees a contest, and like she's super consistent with her shot. And she's just super hard. Like I used to think of her like as like the like woman Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Just because her release is super high and she's just so efficient, like the mid range area. But yeah, no, she's a tough cover for sure. Definitely a tough cover.
Yeah, she's gotten that whole Kevin Durant comparison before, like
Hmm.
because they're tall and kind of just the shot release and everything. But when you were there, like practicing with them too, like did you get more insights of like why the WNBA should be more recognized, like especially maybe speaking through with them?
Um. Oh, wait, are you saying like why they should be more like recognized or more like appreciated?
Yeah.
Um. So I say this all the time when people ask me like how working like practicing with them is, and I like the I think the best way to put it is the only difference between men and women in terms of basketball is really just the physicality. I think that the skill set is the same, but like when it comes to that physicality, athleticism, and things like that, um, it's super. That's the only difference. You know what I mean? Like these women are really skilled. Like these women are actually like really really good basketball players. It's just like there's just certain things that they just can't do consistently like men, like obviously like dunk, you know what I mean, and do things like that that are eye opening to other people when it comes to like entertainment and things like that. But I think if you really really love basketball, like you should really watch the WNBA because they play on the like on the most like fundamental and like sound level where it's like you know you can actually pick apart and learn stuff from like a lot of these people because they keep it simple. You know what I mean? Like and that's like when you're like playing basketball, especially like when you're starting up. I think like watching the WNBA, like you get so much. I think you can learn a lot more because like in the NBA, like a lot of these athletes like have this advantage simply because of their athletic or simply because they have that physical advantage. You know what I mean? But with WNBA players, it's like you can actually see like you can see some similarities like in your game to their game. And I think like when you're first watching basketball, or like when you're trying to like get better at basketball, or even if you just love basketball, I think you should really watch WNBA and college too. I love watching college women, especially. Obviously I was a big fan of Xavier. I went to used to watch all the Xavier games, even when they were on the road, when they were at home. I So students getting free at Xavier games for the women's games, I would always buy the courtside tickets, even though they were like $10, $15. I would still buy them just to just to support, obviously, and just to be closer than I usually am. But I love watching basketball. Just it doesn't matter who's playing, but yeah, definitely, it's watching women's basketball is like if you really love basketball, it shouldn't be a problem you watching women's basketball.
Who are some of your favorite women's college basketball that you like watched over the years, along with
Over the over the years, well, obviously, I'm gonna sound like a bandwagon, obviously for sure. But who doesn't love watching Caitlin Clark? I mean, at the end of the day, it's like she's doing stuff that is like supernatural. You know what I mean? Especially in this time. So definitely Caitlin Clark. I'm a big fan. I like watching people that I know too. Um, so like there's some some girls that maybe I've like either like knew of like growing up, or just like maybe I've met when I was like younger, watching them play, things like that. And it doesn't have to be Division 1. Like I know a lot of girls that play Division 2 as well, that I have kept up with. Maybe they're might have been older than me, younger than me. Division 2, Division 3 as well. But I'd say my favorite. I love watching Kelsey Plum at Washington. That she was definitely one of my favorites to watch. Just because of how efficient she was. I definitely, um, I'm definitely a fan of watching Paige Beckers at UConn right now for sure. Um, I will say one of my other favorite players to watch, Georgia Moore. She was at Virginia Tech past, I think, past 3 or 4 years. Now she's transferred to Kentucky. Uh, like watching her game, especially during the tournament, because I think she leads the tournament in 3 pointers made. So I definitely like watching her play too. But there's a whole lot that I'm blanking right now. I can't think of, but just in general, I just I just like I'm just a huge fan of just women's college sports, honestly. So
I would think like you would add Juju to the mix right there. Juju Watkins.
I will say Juju um will probably finish as like one of the top 5 college players all time, just because like you know her averaging 27 a game at 18 years old is I mean it's just there's really no like explanation to it. Being the second best scorer in the country as a freshman, it's amazing. And like the fact that she has to be there for another 3 years is even crazier. So I think when it's all said and done, I think she'll be one of the top 5, top 10 women's college players all time for sure.
You think Paige will win a national championship before she goes to the draft?
Well, I'll say this. So the Mystics, they're I love them. They're kind of struggling right now though. So I'm hoping that we get that number 1 pick for next year, so we can think about taking Paige. So that's kind of like what I was thinking of in terms of Paige Beckers. But national championship, it's kind of difficult because a lot of people, like to categorize like, winning in college, and obviously, like, there's winners in college and stuff like that. But it's just a little harder because like the format's different. It's like one game, like win or go home. And I think anybody can get anybody just in a given night. You know what I mean? Especially now the way that the portal's set up. Anybody can get anybody. So like to say that, if she doesn't win a national championship, like I wouldn't not, I would still would consider her a winner just because, she's won like what 85 to 90% of her college games, you know what I mean? And, the tournament is always tricky, especially in March, anybody can be anybody. So, I do I think she will get one? I think it's possible. But if South Carolina keeps, recruiting and building the way they are, I think that's going to be a tough task. Um, it just depends on, who they have to see in the tournament, who beats who, things like that. So, but do I think so? I think it's possible for sure.
So, from your perspective, so like Xavier is considered the Big East. What would you say is the misconception about the Big East competition? Because a lot of people say Big East is Big Easy.
Um, well, first and foremost, um, UConn's in the conference, so you obviously can't say that. But for the women's side, it's you have UConn, Marquette is good every year. Creighton is good every year. Um, DePaul wasn't decent when they lost to Nisha Mara. Obviously, that took a turn. But um, there's a good amount of teams in the Big East. Providence did pretty decent last year. Um, the Big East is, um, I think, for the most part, when you look at all Big East, like it's a very structured conference. You know what I mean? Not a whole lot of like one on one ISO. The only like player when you look at like the history, like when you look at like Big East play, like the only one that I could see like, it didn't matter where she went, she was gonna get a buck anywhere was Maddie Seacrest when she was at Villanova. Um, but like everything other that, like the Big East is super like structured, and so sometimes like people might look at that and be like, okay, it looks boring. You know what I mean? So they might categorize it that way. But the Big East is more competitive because I think anybody can beat anybody in the conference, and it's I think UConn being the top dogs, not just in the Big East but in the country, should say a lot. Especially from them coming from the Big East. So to say it's the Big Easy, I wouldn't say that because I will say the Big East does have some teams that aren't very strong in the conference, but for the most part, the Big East is super solid. Especially like the way UConn's killing the men's and women's now because the men's were not looked as weren't looked at like the way they are now because they're back-to-back champion NCAA champions. So yeah, I wouldn't say the Big East is the Big East. I wouldn't say that.
So, my question is for you is, you know, you as an athlete, but also like more than an athlete, how important is mental health to you?
Super. I think well, especially when you're in college, and mind you, I didn't get to play in college, but I was able to, to witness college athletes and just like be around them 24/7. I think having something to take your mind off of like your sport or just what you're doing is super important because you got to think like with college athletes, they're in you know they wake up, they either got like practice or like lift, and then they might get shots up later, then they got class and they're right back to maybe film, and then they got real practice later, things like that. So they're doing practice, they're doing basketball 8 hours a day, 5 6 days a week. So it really weighs your body down, your mental down, just to have to think about that and do that every single day. So I think having something mentally to take your mind off of doing that, I think it's super important. It's the reason why a lot of people thrive the way they do because they don't have to think about basketball all the time. But some people are just are super basketball focused and things like that, so they can focus on basketball every second of the day. But I think there's nothing wrong with doing things that are like safe for you and your body to do things that aren't basketball, or even any sport related. So I think, having like a mental escape is super can be super beneficial for anybody.
Yeah, because my question is for you is like, why is it from your perspective? Why is it hard for, say, a man to be able to express mental health, especially when it comes to sports?
Um, it's really because the stigma. I think, men are taught to be tough, not to show emotion, not to shed tears, things like that. Um, because we don't want to look soft to other people and things like that. And I think, when you cry, you show a sign of weakness, and like men are taught to never show sign of weakness, to always be strong, things like that. So um, a lot of times, you know, maybe like pain is overlooked just because of that stigma and things like that. So I think, you know, just a lot of times, men just don't want to look weak or look, like social, like to people social, like they don't want to look weak. You know what I mean? They don't want to cry, things like that. So, but I just really just think it's because of the stigma that men have when it comes to things like that.
So, so let me ask you this too, like, how important is representation to you when it comes to sports?
Like how I look.
Like, whether it's not how you look, it's more like, say, maybe you see on the TV like someone that may look like you, but like not only just look like you, but like say you see someone and they have the same type of journey that you've been going through and you want to be,
Um.
or just being like a role model to that person.
Oh, I mean, my thing is, you know, I hope people don't take the route that I took, because I took the most difficult route to get to be able to get to where I'm at. I wanted to go to college. Like I wanted to, you know what I mean? I wanted that opportunity, things like that. And I didn't get. So I hope nobody, if you are serious for basketball, I hope nobody, you know, takes the route that I did. But yeah, so I mean, I come from, my town's about 5,000, 6,000 people in it. And we barely have kids that go to college for sports. So, just to um be able to show kids that, like, what I mean, you can do it. It doesn't matter where you're from, or, what I mean, what resources you have. It's possible if you just, if you dedicate yourself and your time to doing what you want to do. But I'm super big on like doing things, to bring back, like, to Charlestown, like to be able to, like, say like I'm somebody who, came from an area like this, and and is able to make an impact on somebody. Like I always tell myself, if you live life and you don't inspire anybody, I think it's a wasted life. You know what I mean? So I just try my best to, whatever I do, just try to, impact somebody, and just, let somebody know that it's possible, that they can do anything, they want to do.
For sure. Like, because, I mean, you got to aspire yourself to inspire others, right?
For sure, for sure.
So my question is, what was that transition like, from your playing at the Pro Am to the TBL like? What was that transition like?
Um, well, so the TBL, it had been a crazy transition just in general, because, um, obviously, like, TBL is a structured format, and we have practice and stuff like that. And I hadn't been on like an official like team and played an official game since I was a senior in high school. That was 2018. So it I had to adjust to, you know, being at practice, listening to a coach, running sets and doing things like that. So it was all just a big adjustment for me. But I my coach played in the NBA, and he coached in the NBA. His name is Lester Connor, and he was able to, help me a lot with that transition, and just being like helping me like be like successful in the league and things like that. So he was a big part of just my growth and just the transition, and he just made it easier because he just put us in a successful position, just put us in the right place, and just he was able to um, structure us the right way so we were to be the most effective in the season. So I'd say I credit most of the transition to him because he made it easier for me, and I think for the rest of my team.
Yeah, cause I ain't gonna lie, I was like, dang, where he been at? Um, cause like I said, the last time the first time I saw was at the pro am, and I was like, oh, he can play, like he can.
Yeah. I kind of had to like, because a lot of times like I had the pro am film, and like people they would see the pro am film and they were like, oh, that's not enough. Like, can he play? Like, what I mean, is he able to play like in a structure, like in a, what I mean, with refs and with like an actual game? And so I kind of had to like prove to other people that like I was still able to play under a structured format, things like that. So, but yeah, it took a while to to do that, but I'm glad people just see me not just for a pro am player. So.
Would you say the competition is very similar or different, like between the pro am and the TBL? Would you say there's similarities and differences?
There are definitely similarities. At the end of the day, like everybody playing for the most part plays professional, or is works on their game like heavily. So I think uh, you know I'm not gonna lie, say every TBL team is top notch. There are some weak leagues in TBL, as are on the pro am, obviously. But for the most part, I think the pro am. Um, might have a little more competition, just because of maybe their status, maybe like some players are playing overseas somewhere, some in the G League, some in the NBA. So but like in terms of competition, like at the end of the day, it's I think it's basketball. So like if you can play, like if you can play in a pro am, play in TBL, like I mean, if you're able to play, you can play. So but I think in terms of competition, I think the pro am, just because of the names, I think has more competitiveness for sure. Has more competition.
Who would you say inspired you both on and off the court?
Definitely my parents. Super hardworking people. My mom and dad both grew up really poor. And they made it a priority for me and my brother not to grow up how they did. So I'm just forever. I'm blessed that that those are my parents, and that I had to I was able to live the life I was. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have to I didn't have to struggle or what I mean, worry about when my next meal was coming. I think a lot of people underestimate that, because they both grew up with that problem. So they definitely inspire me to work hard. I got my work ethic from them for sure, and just wanted to like keep going, because they're still aspiring to do different things and challenge themselves. So I definitely say my parents are the reason why I am the way I am for sure.
Oh, shout out
Yeah,
to the parents.
for sure, for sure. Gotta love the parents.
So, if you had to describe your journey in one word, what would it be?
um I'd say like really just like emotional, like, because like when I like when you're at a point of doing something and you don't know what the outcome could be, or you don't know if there's going to be any success in what you're doing, and you're still doing it, um and people look at you, and those you'll say like, um I had a lot of people like when I was in college and stuff, like, and I wasn't playing. I had a lot of people saying, like, why are you working out basketball? Like, what, what I mean, you're not playing. So like, why are you working out? Why are you doing this? Things like that. Um, and it definitely, makes you, like it can make you conscious about yourself just because people are always like people can always like judge you and things like that. But it's just I feel like I've like went through a lot of emotions getting to where I'm at, like the feeling of like, what I mean, like maybe this just isn't like cut out for me, what I mean? Not that like I didn't think I had the ability, but just, maybe just wasn't in the cards, just like maybe, I mean, it's not gonna go my way, things like that. Like feeling of happy, obviously, because like you're doing what you love, frustrated because you're not where you want to be, you know what I mean, and you're seeing like people kind of like pass you up and people kind of like turn their head to you, things like that. So I just say like it's just been super emotional. But I'm it's like my journey is far from over right now, and I just want to keep inspiring, keep continuing, and like keep going, keep growing, and just keep making an impact, keep putting my footprint on this earth. So that's what that's what I'm trying to do.
See, great minds think alike, because that's my mindset, is just leaving a legacy, just hopefully like, you know, if say like if I was to be like, you know, so it's like if someone were to ask how would you describe this person, I would hope that legacy is be feel impactful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Leave a legacy. That's what everybody's trying to do. You know what I mean?
So I always ask my guests this question, but for you guys, for the men, of course, authentic. What makes Miles Roper authentic, as well as what makes your story stands out?
Well, I think it makes it what makes it stand out is because, like I said, I don't wish anybody take the path I did, and it's very unique from everybody, very different. Um, so I think a lot of people would have stopped when I mean, when I was going. I think a lot of people would have quit. Um, so I think that makes me different from a lot of people because I don't, you know, I just think a lot of people would have finished playing or just would have gave up when it was easy to give up. So I think that makes me stand out and just staying true to myself. Understanding that I always had not only have I always had the passion to play, but I always thought I had the ability and like just because a lot of people think that because they work hard for this amount of time, like it's gonna happen for them, and like that's just not how, that's not how it works. If you're religious, like believe in God, like that's not how God operates. I mean, just because you think you're ready doesn't mean that He thinks you're ready. So, um, I saw a quote on Instagram and it said "delayed, not denied." So it's kind of like just because you think you're ready, it doesn't mean that the universe is gonna respect that, and because winning and losing isn't it's not loyal to anybody. You know what I mean? So you're not guaranteed. Doesn't matter how hard you work, you're not guaranteed to win. You're not guaranteed to be successful in anything. You know what I mean? So I think just staying true to myself, and understanding that this is what I'm really passionate about this, and just and continue to work hard no matter what might come. I think that separates just my journey and what I've been through.
Ooh, hold on, let me get my pen, because that felt so real.
Uh,
That felt so real. So that's if I feel like that was a that is a real response. Like anytime I feel like, oh shoot, that's deep. I gotta get my little
yeah,
pen.
yeah, for sure.
So can you let the folks know how where they can support you, like, and if there's any upcoming events coming up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just follow me on my Instagram. I post a lot of my stuff on there, just like basketball and things like that. Instagram at Rogo Crazy. I'm not too crazy on Twitter or Facebook really. I my Instagram really has like my links and stuff. I actually links. I only have one link on my bio. It's like my player profile that my agency made for me. So they want to look at that because that talks more about like my story in depth and things like that. So yeah, I think Instagram is really the best. That's like one of the only like social media apps like I'm on right now. I might get into some later on. You know, maybe like do like a YouTube or something maybe later on, but you know, it just depends on my situation what I'm doing right now. But yeah, definitely follow me on Instagram for sure.
Y'all heard him first. Be sure to follow Myles at Roll Go Crazy. So thank you guys for tuning in to episode 66. Yes, episode 66, sir.
That's a lot of episodes. That's a lot of episodes.
So y'all be sure to tune in to the live replay after this. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.